The hosts of Two Bored Apes are not registered investment advisors. The podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Nothing said on it should be construed as investment advice.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.
Welcome to episode 45 of Two Bored Apes. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Roy. Roy, how are you?
I'm good. Why'd you start laughing during your intro?
Just because it's already the name of the podcast is a little bit funny now because it's inaccurate. We've talked about the possibility before. I thought about calling it episode 1 of One Bored Ape, all this stuff.
We're going to get into that.
Yeah,
soon.
we are. Did you answer me, how are you? Or did you just talk about me laughing?
I don't know. I think I said I'm good and then moved on. I'm well. I'm good. I've not had an enormous meal recently.
Wow.
So that's something.
You had like 7 steaks in a row or something recently? Every time I talked to you, you had just had a steak. What was happening there?
So, I was in Dubai last week shooting for NASAcademy. And then, let's see what happened. I had a flight over there. On the flight, I had steak. I landed. So it would have been like 6 p.m. I landed at like 11 p.m. Got to my hotel at midnight. Was awake for a couple of hours. And was like really hungry. So then I ordered room service. The only really good thing on the late night menu was steak. I had steak. Sure. Then the very next day, I met a 333 member we went to like a really cool art gallery store and then had lunch. And I ordered a steak there.
Right.
That was 3 in a row. And then that night I was back in my room and I wasn't hungry till it was late night again. And so I was like, let's see what's on the menu. And there was steaks. That's 4.
Sure enough, 4.
And then I'm pretty sure 3 more nights that week I had.
That's a lot of steak.
4 more nights. Because we went out to dinner at a restaurant. It was like a 333. It was meant to be a 333 catch up, but there were only 2 other members there. And then we had like 4 or 5 just other people jump in. Actually, I was talking in just offhand in the Proof Discord chat about how I was in Dubai and someone else said, hey, I'm there. And I was like, well, we're going to go to dinner at this restaurant at 7:30. You want to come? And he's like, I live a 1-minute walk from there. He just came down and met us, and that was really cool.
Cool.
And I had a steak. So,
I probably have steak twice a month or something. So the fact that you had it like 7 days in a row is kind of amazing.
I would also, if I'm at home and not traveling or anything, I would probably also have it twice a month. But yeah,
this is good listening though. This is like
this is an NFT podcast.
Very good podcast.
We've already lost any potential new listeners. If you're listening now,
what the fuck is this? Let's get into it then.
All right.
Even though we've already lost them, right?
Yeah.
All right. Our first segment is always called News of the Week. This is where we talk about the news of the week. And we got 2 things here. One is Goblintown, which we talked about on... That was a Twitter Spaces, right? Not an episode.
Yeah. But it's
but
been like news of the week for a while.
Yeah. It's maybe 3 weeks old or something at this point. It was a free mint, and it's just very popular. Floor's around 6, and it's kind of maintained. It went there quick and basically stabilized there with some ups and downs.
Yeah, it hit like I think 10 at one point, 9-10, but then it crashed.
I never saw that, but maybe it happened before I was paying attention. I don't think so. But anyway, there was some rumors that it was a Yuga secret mint. Yuga said no, it's not. What else is there to talk about it? Really?
Yeah, well, I guess the rumor
people were making goblin noises for 3 hours in a row.
It was so funny. Did you ever tune into any of them?
I did not.
They were the most fun I've ever had in a Twitter space.
That's
honestly,
so crazy.
It was just, and I mean, maybe is this what like everyone said that the Bored Apes back in like they'd be in the clubhouse making ape noises.
Yeah, making monkey noises.
I was never in any of those, but yeah, if it was similar, I can sort of see why there was some sort of. It's just so ridiculous and ludicrous to have like, presumably like 20, 30, 40-year-old adults in a Twitter space just
yes, hundreds of them
making thousands. One of the Goblin Spaces, I think, got 40, 50, 60,000 listeners.
That's amazing.
It is ridiculous.
That is really crazy because I don't know. We like saw those OpenSea numbers about how many total accounts there are or whatever, and it's just there's not that many for 40,000 people to be listening to a single Spaces about a brand new project.
Yeah,
a brand new project that's not like a major IP thing that's bringing people like just it's some goblins that we just heard of a couple days ago.
Yeah, I don't think it was 40,000 at once, but it was like 40,000 total tuned in over like the 8 hour. But still, it is crazy. What was I going to say? Yeah, the whole rumor life cycle of it. Is it Yuga? Is it not? When they first launched, there was like a bunch of the speculation because in the pitch deck that was leaked, there was like a goblin thing, and it seemed unlikely to me. And then it seemed like most people sort of agreed that it was very unlikely it was Yuga for a while. And then,
do you wonder if whoever did it saw the leaked thing and thought this could be a smart thing to get us a little sizzle? I never thought of that until this moment.
I hadn't thought of that.
We all saw that the leaked deck said goblins somewhere.
Yeah,
could have been
maybe. I think it was just because people were memeing about Goblin Town on crypto Twitter for ages. And anyway, it seemed like the whole rumor had sort of been shot down, and then and then like somewhere around that same time, people thought it might have been Beeple, and Beeple came out and was like made a tweet like, "It's insane that I have to say this, but I'm not affiliated with any low effort."
Right.
And then like 2 days ago, I think who was it?
One of the 4 Yuga founders.
Yeah, I think it was Gordon and Beeple. Gordon Goner and Beeple were like at getting drinks and dinner somewhere, and then Gordon posted a selfie of the two of them and some cryptic message about, is Beeple making goblin sounds?
This guy just started making goblin sounds at dinner or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that just shot the floor up in speculation.
Right.
And
what is interesting though is that there's like some actual worthwhile speculation. Like obviously that's a joke, right? But there is like what is Beeple doing with the Yuga people? That's actually potentially interesting.
Yeah.
Could just be talking about 10K TF or just whatever. I don't know. But
or like it could just be friends. But yeah. Maybe there's something.
A lot of reasons.
Something else cooking.
I don't have a ton to say about them though, and I feel like we've caught people up, and maybe we'll have questions in Twitter Q&A about them soon or whatever. But I feel like the bigger thing, the more newsworthy news thing was the Nate Chastain thing, which certainly we talked about fairly extensively, I'd say, when it first happened.
Yeah, wow.
But now we're talking about the legal consequences that he may or may not be facing.
Yeah, catch us up.
Okay. I was going to make you do that. But so Nate
I got
Chastain
in first.
was head of community operations or something like that for OpenSea a long time ago. He was basically a liaison between OpenSea and the actual, NFT community that was using it. He was on Twitter and he was very helpful with people's problems and stuff. So people liked him in general. I think that's fair to say. People in the NFT space that wanted to get through to OpenSea about issues. He was really good at helping those people. Then it came out, somebody who was looking at Etherscan sufficiently, basically, found that Nate was ahead of OpenSea featuring a project, buying into that project with a secret wallet, waiting till they were featured. The price would go up because they were featured, and then he would sell them. And then this is this really stupid part. He took that money from the secret wallet and sent it directly back to his main wallet, which is A, how it was found so easily by this on-chain sleuth, and B, why he's now facing money laundering charges. So a couple of days ago, the Department of Justice or the FBI, maybe the FBI arrested him. I don't understand how the system in my country works as well as I should. I believe the Department of Justice...
Especially for someone who's married to a lawyer.
Right. No, so the FBI arrested him and the Department of Justice is charging him, is how I understand it. But he's getting charged with wire fraud and money laundering and the headline said in the first NFT insider trading case, but he's not actually being charged with insider trading. And this is a bit of a thing that people got confused about because technically insider trading, it would have to be securities for it to be technically insider trading. So he's basically doing what insider trading is with a thing that means that it's technically not insider trading. But anyway, they're charging him officially with money laundering and wire fraud for this. And it's the penalties theoretically are up to 40 years in jail. Now, nobody ever gets the maximum sentence almost, and you also don't actually do the maximum sentence. Our prisons are so crowded. If you get sentenced to 40 years and you behave reasonably, you get out in like 12 or whatever. Not to take anything away from, 12 years in prison is not cool.
Right.
And it does seem sort of like a situation where maybe the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Right.
Even though like a lot of people are way more okay with what he did than I am. I think he definitely should be facing big consequences. Now, some of them would say, he lost his job and that was consequence enough. That's up for debate or whatever. But and the other thing people will say, I'm going to let you start talking soon because I feel like I'm just going at this point, but that there's a lot of people in the space who have done much worse things for much larger amounts of money and are not facing the consequences that he are. Perhaps they will in the future. One counter to that I just want to put out there is that, because people will say he only stole $40,000 worth of money or whatever doing this. I believe it seems like he was caught and then stopped. I don't see evidence that he, his grandmother had cancer treatment that cost $40,000. And he said, I'm going to do this thing that's unethical in order to pay for this, and then I'll stop. I think he got caught and then stopped. So who knows how much he was planning on doing before he got caught. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you covered the bulk of it. I think I agree. I agree with people that say that the punishment doesn't. Well, obviously, if he gets 40 years, if it's 20 years, I think that's crazy and excessive. I think he obviously did something wrong. He should be punished. And probably more than just losing his job. Obviously, that is a large punishment, especially if he had like a bunch of shares in OpenSea that are going to be very valuable. And it just seems crazy that he even did this in the first place.
It was so stupid.
Yeah, and the way he did it.
Yeah, I was going to say that we talked about this originally, but the idea that he had the sense I should call it, I guess, to hide it by doing it on a different wallet than his main wallet, but had the lack of sense to immediately said it's so stupid.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think it wasn't necessarily malice. It was like negligence and ignorance.
It was more amoral than immoral, you think? Is that fair to say?
I don't really know the difference between amoral and immoral.
My understanding is amoral means you're basically not thinking about morality, or morality is not really part of the equation, so to speak. Whereas immoral is like poor morals.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I would say that more than amoral, not immoral. There you go. You're learning some real good stuff from Two Bored Apes.
I think it is immoral, but I'm just trying to figure out what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and clearly there are a lot of people who deserve to be caught and punished that haven't been yet, and it could be that them trying to make an example out of him.
Spacing out of it, right? I mean,
yeah. It'll be interesting to see just how it progresses. So, money laundering and wire fraud, like, I don't really get how what he did is either of those things.
Well, the money laundering is pretty clear because, or I don't know anything. But let's put that for there. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know fucking jack shit. But my understanding is that money laundering basically is just anytime you are trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like hide, launder money. No, basically hide where the money is coming from. And so they're basically saying that the fact that he had this other wallet address that he used to do the dirty work, and then try to make the money clean by putting it into his, public-facing wallet. That right there is money laundering.
That's a stretch to me because, how can you money launder on a public blockchain? That's just stupid.
It's stupid, but well, I mean, let's address that too. We both know what tornado caching is. That's like the very definition of money laundering, and that's on a public blockchain. So that's an instance where you could. He did it in a very stupid way that makes it easy to get caught, but his intention is still quite similar, right? He's trying to get away with this as Nate Chastain without people knowing that. But again, she sent it right back to that address. So fucking stupid. But so, to me, that makes sense. The wire fraud is more of a thing that they basically use to cover a wide variety of crimes that involve digital transfers of information. It covers all sorts of stuff. A lot of like the sports betting stuff falls under that as well, the Wire Act and all that.
All right. Yeah.
Is that news of the week, or do we have a little bit more to say? I think that's it, right?
think that's it.
Maybe go
yeah.
after Beanie next. Are we actively rooting for that? Although a lot of people, well, it doesn't matter. But the longer he's out of the space, I feel like the more we see people going, he's not that bad. Excuse. I still think he's terrible. But anyway, maybe go after him next.
All right, that was
news of the week.
Bored Ape.
Yep. Did you hear the sadness in my voice when I did it there? Right,
very melancholy, low.
Yeah.
It's a somber time in the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
It's technically the first episode ever of One Bored Ape. I sold my ape the other day, right? That's the news
that's
here.
The big news.
Well, there's actual stuff happening in the club that we'll talk about as well, but I'm technically officially out of it because I no longer have a mutant or an ape. I still have 2 dogs. So I have Yuga assets. I also have one other deed as well, but I don't have the membership which the mutant and the ape confer. So, as people who listen to the podcast for a long time have known, I've always felt that not always, but in the last 7 months or whatever, something like that, felt like the value of the asset relative to just where I am financially, it was a lot. And so I would try to trim my holdings in the other Yuga pieces and stuff like that for a while. But I was, Roy's smirking, everybody. For the people who are not watching the video, Roy's smirking at me.
There's something funny we're going to get to soon.
Okay, cool. Well, do you want to get to that, or do you want me to just keep babbling about how I sold?
Keep going about why you sold, because
I would basically be okay with listing it like 2 times floor or 1.5 times floor, something really where if somebody liked it a lot, and I thought it was sort of a premium one, even though the rarity didn't necessarily say so. If they wanted to pay it, I'd go, you know what, you can have it. And then Looks Rare, which we've talked about. I don't think I need to talk about what Looks Rare is. They started these listing rewards where for the top 20, I believe it is, NFT collections, most traded in the last week or whatever is how they measure that. They're going to basically pay you a little bit of looks, which is their native token, if you list their NFTs from these collections within 50% of the floor. And the closer you get to the floor price, the bigger percentage of those rewards you're going to get. So I was basically at this point trying to thread the needle of listing it above floor enough to be a bit safe. Like, I was listing 10-ish above the floor, but low enough to still be getting one of the highest tiers of the rewards. And it was working for a little while, but then I guess 5 days ago or something at this point, the floor was, I believe, 86 at the time, and I had it listed for 97, and someone bought it. And that's basically the end of that story. You have something funny to say about this, though, I guess?
Right. So long-term capital gains tax is...
Oh, that was interesting, too, yeah.
Calculated where if you hold an asset for more than 12 months, the tax is significantly lower.
Yeah.
So how close to the 12-month deadline did you get?
It was amazing. So it ended up being, it's exactly the same day. I bought it May 31st last year, and it sold May 31st of this year. I looked at the timestamps earlier. It was something like I had bought it around 9 or 10 a.m. I had made the bids the night before, and then somebody sold it in the morning. Yeah. And then the time that I sold it this year, it was like 4 p.m. or something. So I was like 6 hours away from having an extra $30,000 tax liability or whatever, which is funny. And one of our friends in the group chat said it was insane that I had been listing it and risking that happening for so long.
You're trying to make $12 in looks rewards.
Yeah. I can't really disagree. But they also, if we can get a little bit more serious about the decision making, just aside from the size of the asset, it did seem like the team had been making a bit more consistent missteps than they ever had to me. And so I was feeling a bit more like people, they were just going to lose a little bit of the top tier luster that they had for so long. Not to mention all the, other worries that people can have about the macroeconomic situation, in general.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think ever since the other side, like the others, I think I've said this before, but like if in a year or two, Yuga just like has this massive fall from grace with a steady decline and is like no longer near the top, I think people will look back to the other side sale and be
So,
like, that's when it started.
I can
falling
see
apart.
that. People
Yeah.
didn't like when they said the thing about what
They
was
blamed
it?
the Ethereum network and say, hey, we'll just go to another blockchain. Or
Well,
something.
that was a different. That was after. I'm saying before. Dutch auctions are bullshit. That whole thing
Right.
rubbed
Yeah.
people the wrong way. And then, like, part of the idea was that I think they specifically said this, that you end up paying a bunch in gas with Dutch auctions.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this ended up also being a gas war. And then, yes, obviously the messaging after from like, and it seems like we were told that it was like an official message from the account, but then we were told that nobody had ever actually discussed this. I don't know if you remember seeing that.
I don't
think
remember that.
it was like the
Yeah.
Animoca Brands head guy or something like that said like nobody in the ApeCoin DAO has ever said this is a plan or planned this. But somebody had tweeted from like again, I think it was the ApeCoin, if I'm not mistaken, Twitter
I remember.
said
It's on
afterwards
the other side,
that like it's clear that we're gonna have to move onto our own chain off of Ethereum because of this, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
And then people are complaining about the quality of this merch. I don't know if you've read these complaints.
No, I haven't seen that.
That's another thing, but it does seem like the quality of the screen printing was not as high on these as it was on the last ones. Yada yada.
Damn.
But I mean, I am still legitimately fearful that the Ape floor is going to be $1 million in 2 years, and I'll feel like an idiot for having sold it here. It's not like I'm like, oh, these are going to crash and all that, but it just it happened.
Do you have any plans to buy a mutant, sell your 2 dogs and your other side, and maybe
I'm not planning on buying a mutant or selling the dogs or the other deed at all right now. The thing in terms of selling, like, I really have no need to sell stuff now. The only stuff I should sell is stuff that I actively think is just not going anywhere or is going to, dwindle down to zero. Because I just got all this liquidity from the ape sale itself. So I'm definitely not planning on doing that. But also, as you well know, as our listeners know, I have a very tough time spending a lot of money on an NFT. I've done it for a couple high-end art. Like I bought a Fragments of the Infinite Field for 12. I think that was by far the most I've ever spent on one. So to spend 20 or whatever on a mutant sounds crazy to me. People might go, well, how do you hold the ape at 100 but balk at the idea of ever buying back in at 20 or whatever? I don't know. I don't have to justify myself to you, but legitimately, like, there are, if you want to do the math of that, there's various ways you can analyze it that makes that sort of make sense in terms of momentum trading, in terms of the tax liability of the sale itself, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But the other thing is, I haven't felt too happy or sad about it. I felt pretty neutral, which I guess is good. Again, I have a little bit of a potential fear that it will just go up a ton in the future, and I'll regret it to some degree. But like, just the scale of where I bought it and what I sold it for, it's just you just have to be an unhealthy mental human being to not feel like that was a success. To have that and then go, but what if, is like that's no way to live life. So I'm feeling okay about it.
Good. And where did you buy it again for?
I bought it at 0.5 ETH when ETH was 2,700. So it cost me $13.50.
Wow. The hell of a return.
I got the dog, I got the mutant, I got the ape coin, and I got the other deed. I mean,
the dog is worth more than you paid for.
By a lot.
By a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to talk about how I fumbled the ape coin bag pretty bad, but I don't need to do that.
All right.
Let's talk about what's actually going on in the club, though, even though I'm no longer a part of it.
Ape Fest.
Should I just leave? From now on, this is a solo segment from Roy.
Oh, hang on. I'll just speak with.
I wish I had a book. Oh, here we go.
I got an ape here, ape on my shoulder. You start reading.
Physical humor for people that are not watching the video.
Ape Fest is coming up.
And I was planning on going.
Are you still coming to NFT NYC?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go still, I think. at least do your bookstore thing. See you.
Yeah. There's some cool other stuff happening.
Yeah. Courtney's got a new apartment that's nice that I can stay at. So
nice, very cool. All right, so they're doing an event for like every night. That's just said like Pier
they
17,
meaning
I
the
think.
Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Bored Ape Yacht Club. 5 to 10 p.m. They've just booked out this massive
Pier 17, is it?
Pier 17, yeah. Right? 1.5 acre rooftop, which is enormous. And yeah, there's a lot of controversy about like tickets for it.
All right, so there's like a capacity of 3,100 or something, which is sort of where it all stems from.
Yeah,
as far as I know, I haven't followed it super closely, but I think that's where it stems from. And then they were trying to tell people to sort of prioritize which day you wanted to go to the most, and you might not get into everything. And you might know more. Why don't you?
That's the gist of it. So there's 4 days, and I think they're going to open up signups tomorrow or the day after. And they basically said you'll be able to select your priority of which days you want to go to. So you basically pick preferences, and they said we can't guarantee that you'll be able to go at all. We can't guarantee that you get your first priority, and a lot of people are unhappy, somewhat rightfully so, I think.
I mean, especially like foreigners who booked flights ahead of time for it, and are now going, I'm going to fly here from Eastern Europe and maybe not even get into the events or whatever.
Yeah, I just bought an ape for $400,000 in April. I just booked flights and I want to come to Ape Fest, and now I might not get in. It's sort of like an inherent flaw, I think, with having Ape Fest in New York City. It's just really difficult to have venues for.
I saw someone on Twitter that was disputing that says like, I work for somebody that holds big things, and if you want to pay up, it's totally doable.
Yeah, I mean, you can get Madison Square Garden for like $500,000 to $1 million a night, apparently, and people are like, "Well, it's you; they can afford it."
They have plenty of money to do that, yeah.
And that would be crazy, but I don't know. It's fairly difficult to get great spaces for 20,000 people or 10,000, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be great. I don't even know if I'm going to get to go because I have stuff on every night, which is kind of wild. I'd like to attend at least one of them, but we'll see. Yeah. There's a proposal in the ApeCoin DAO now about moving to another ecosystem, layer 1. I think currently the vote's in favor of staying on Ethereum.
I saw one that was it was basically, the proposal was, let's not do that. And it's like, do we need a proposal for this? Or is that
that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, it's like keep ApeCoin within the Ethereum ecosystem.
It's already within it. We don't need a fucking vote for this. Here's another thing. I don't know if you saw this, that Snoop Dogg is opening a restaurant with his ape as the mascot. I think it's a dessert restaurant, if I remember correctly, but I don't quote me on that.
Well, he's really going all in on this whole NFT
he kind of
Web3 space.
And he wears the ape on his clothes a lot in on TV and shit.
It's
kind
awesome.
of interesting. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another thing. This could have been news of the week and an ape thing, but the Seth Green thing, we have not talked about that, I don't think. And that was pretty interesting. And will continue to be interesting because it's not really a settled matter at this point.
Yeah. So Seth Green has basically created a TV show using his ape as and
it's like mixed media, part live action, part cartoon, kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that kind of thing.
And I mean, I think they released the trailer or something at VCon and got people excited. And then he had his ape stolen, like fished, and this whole can of worms opened up in terms of like IP rights. And well, now can they release it if he doesn't own the ape? And but I think that the latest is that he's like tracked down the person who bought it.
They're definitely doing some legal stuff to try something. I don't know all the specifics, but they're like going to court about it.
Yeah. Excuse me. It's a fascinating. Like I'm really interested in like the IP rights around NFTs in general.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to like selling your NFT, and then like we have your ape is on the logo of Two Bored Apes.
Yeah. So specifically, you guys talked about some of this stuff before. And they've said, for instance, something like the logo here is that if you create a derivative of it while you own it, that derivative is still valid in perpetuity even after you sell the asset. So in that sense, the logo is still okay. Now, whether or not you could then use it going forward to make merch or something, I'm not as sure about, especially because we don't have necessarily like a blockchain stamped version of the logo, or I guess we do with the Poe apps or whatever. But also, I think so much of this stuff is there is no answer because they have it has never been litigated in court. I think I might have talked about this with you on the podcast, but I heard something. Now, let me go to the origin and then kind of the implications. Did you see the photograph of? It's basically a selfie of a monkey where a wildlife photographer basically dropped their camera. The monkey picked it up and took a selfie of itself. Basically, are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
So basically, the photographer wanted to get the copyright to that picture, and the courts ruled that they couldn't because something about needing a sufficient amount of human input or whatever for a copyright to be valid. And so people have kind of taken that ruling and maybe other rulings like them to think that these profile picture generative projects, the differentiation between each is small enough and not derived enough that you can't actually have a legal copyright claim or whatever on any of these individual images from them. That's a theoretical thing that I have heard people claim. The monkey thing is definitely happened, and then theoretically that this is a result of that. But beyond that possibility, my understanding of the way that Yuga has sort of put this stuff forward and what have you would be that he can't go forward with the show at this point, which is interesting because in some theory the stuff that they had already made would sort of, you would think, fall under like our logo does here, but the show was not complete as far as I understand, so they would have to continue to use it, at which point they would have to get the rights from, I guess, either Yuga or the owner, which might be an interesting thing where, again, the owners of Bored Apes don't have IP rights of the ape. They have a non-exclusive license from Yuga. So theoretically, this Seth Green ape that got stolen, maybe he could, that is, go directly to Yuga and get the rights to use it for the show without actually having to give money to the scammer. I got a little Toby hair on my shoulder I'm trying to get rid of here.
It's also interesting.
And so new and so unfigured out. And it also kind of, I mean, you love talking about it, but it brings to mind how CC0 is sort of very native and frictionless or whatever to theoretically a lot of what people like about the space.
Yeah, it sort of eliminates these issues entirely. Although, I mean, introduces other potential issues, of course, but
right.
Yeah.
And just changes the sort of financial mechanics or whatever that people think.
Yeah.
Because, if the IP does become quite popular, some people and organizations will love the idea of only them being able to control, of course, the way Disney does with their IP, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I guess are we about done, though, with the Bored Ape Yacht Club segment?
I think so, yeah.
We talked about Ape Fest. We talked about me selling. We talked about Seth.
Yeah.
We talked about Snoop Dogg. I think that covers it.
All right.
Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Our blocks and fxhash
/ generative art
in general.
You wrote down a lot of words on our notes for this episode that I don't really recognize. So I guess there's a bunch of projects coming up or that just released that I don't really know about that you do. Daisies, I saw some of those that I know about, but other than that, I'm
very beautiful. They're an upload shop. Yeah.
But aside from that, I don't really know any of this stuff. So why don't you kind of lead the way?
All right. I started with unicorns. Unicorns are a 10K PFP drop on fxhash. And they're just these fun unicorn characters that are really colorful.
I'm going to
I
pull
think they
this
look
up.
pretty cool. And it doesn't seem to me that fxhash or Tezos as a chain can support like 10K collections, certainly not like lots of them. So I don't really anticipate that these take off in a massive way, but maybe they will. I think they're cool.
There's already like the skulls, right? Small skulls is sort
Yeah.
of the de facto fxhash
PFP.
PFP. And I guess maybe for the chain in general, it's Tezards. I don't know enough about it to know if they seem to have fallen. Just in terms of popularity. I don't follow the pricing or anything, but I don't see people talking about them or using them. Yeah, I would assume so. That's how it tends to go in this space.
Anyway, these unicorns, they're minted at 0.5 Tez, which is like less than $1.
90 cents or something right now.
Yeah, which is amazing for a PFP.
Yeah.
And anything or an NFT. And then they were just like basically instantly selling it like between 5 and 10 Tez on secondary. I minted 2, and I would have minted more, but like I didn't have the patience to just sit there clicking mint for that many times.
Impressive.
The
floor is 9.8 right now on them.
Yeah, I bought a bunch,
which again is still like $18.
Right, exactly.
So cheap, relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking, yeah. Yeah, there's a 333 member he minted 305, I think, of them.
Wow, he's got a lot more patience than you.
Exactly, yeah. Which is cool. Anyway, they're just like a lot of buzz. I heard someone like compare them to a little bit the dynamic between like punks and apes, where small skulls are like the punks, the OGs, the traditionalists, and then apes are like these quote unquote people didn't like the art as much, lower effort, whatever, much cheaper. Yeah. Anyway, I don't really know much about the artists behind them or anything like that. It was just
so it's funny you say that. I just clicked right before you said that on the artists who created them to see what other fxhash projects they have. It's just one. It's a collaboration between 2 artists, and both of those artists only have one other project that's also a collab between them, and I really like it. It's called Mood Colors, and it's a very simple thing, but their palettes are great.
Nice.
I'll buy one right this second. Continue.
There you go. Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention it because it's a newsworthy project this week. There's a lot of volume on it. Second up is Travelers. That's an fxhash drop. I absolutely love it. I think it might be my favorite fxhash drop ever. Certainly Garden Monolith and Kindergarten Monuments are obviously exceptional, and I love them a lot. But I don't know. I just
Kindergarten Monuments. I think you messed that up, right?
Kindergarten Monuments.
Oh, maybe it is. I'm so sorry. I thought it was just kind or kinder. But now that I picture the blocks, I guess maybe it could be kindergarten, because
I think it's kindergarten.
Kindergartners use them. I like when I mock you for something that it turns out you're right about.
I'm also like, I was on a call with Zancan like 3 days ago, and I'm pretty sure he said kindergarten.
Now I'm curious though.
About Traveler or kindergarten?
both, I guess. The Traveler one I actually looked at already. They do look good. So yeah. Oh, okay. It's like a play on words. It's Kindergarten Monument.
Right. Kinder in parentheses.
I see. Okay, so we're both sort of right.
I'm
just the only one that got aggressive about the other one being wrong, I guess.
What were we talking about? Travelers. Yeah. They're a really, really cool collection, I think. They had
already skyrocketed by the time I got around, but definitely have like a good sort of sci-fi pulp novel look to them.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there were a Dutch auction starting at 60, and they're just like massive gas war at 60, which is interesting that fxhash now has big gas wars, but they sold out. I saw them when they were like 200, 220. Love them. Bought 4, I think, and now they're at like 700. Man, I'm just obsessed. They're so good.
Yeah, they're nice.
So those are 2 fxhash drops of the week. There is a Zancan competition. You got some Zancan prints.
I did. I literally went to the store today to get them framed. So within the next 14 days, they'll be ready. I got 3 prints, and 2 of them I got framed today. The other one is on the back burner. But these two I'm getting framed right away and gonna find a place somewhere to put on the walls.
What which ones did you get?
So they're both from the Lush Temples collection. Let me just pull up my something. Guess I'll go to object. I believe they're called Stills from Last Night, both of them, and then there's like 06C. So it's called Stills from Last Night, number 06C, aka Blue Daisies. Maybe I can copy the image to you or something like that. I don't know if that's something we need to do, but I'll send you that. And then the other one, let me pull up my profile here.
Yeah.
See if I can find it. I really like them. I think that I like, in general, Lush Temples more than Garden Monoliths. These are both edition pieces, but they're pretty low numbers. Maybe like 20 of each. Well, you're saying this one.
Can you not see my screen?
Oh, okay. Yes. That's one. Yeah. And now I'm looking for the other one where there's it's like 3 or 4 flowers and they're orange. Oh, here we go. I got it. This one is called Stills from Last Night 05E Pillow.
05E Pillow.
You just go left again twice now. And you keep going right. Now you got to do it 3 times. There you go. All the way on the right.
Damn, these are great.
Yeah, they really are. I love them. So I got those printed and they're getting framed today. You're just hovering over it.
No, like I'm doing math in my head. I'm like, what's that? That's like 1 ETH.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is an addition of 20. Was the other one also 20?
Yeah, the other one was 20. The floor was 2,500. I need more Tez.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah. Someone there was like a Twitter thread joke thing about how does anyone actually sell on Tez, or do you just keep buying and buying and seeing the price go up? I literally don't know how to sell.
I've never sold one. I just listed some stuff today on fxhash, basically all at ridiculous prices. I think one is like within striking distance of the floor, but not even really. And then the rest were just ridiculous ones.
Yeah.
But just in case some particular project starts running, I have a couple listed that can get bought.
What do you think the cheapest Zancan you can buy is? See, cheapest Lush Temple.
I mean, I'm looking at your screen right now. Okay, you only have it by recently listed. Probably, yeah. I would say like 70. I think he's got one that's got a ton of editions.
310. Wow.
Okay. Is there a way to do it by like number of editions? Because I think there's one that's just got a shitload that, or maybe I'm only, no. You know what? He's got a couple thing on like Versin or whatever that are actually, it's not Lush Temples and it's not Garden Monoliths. If you go to like Zancan's link tree, just go to this first one actually.
Yeah. This is some great podcast.
yeah. For
again, here we go. 9 Tez.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this one, there's how many of them? 2021. Yeah,
this seems like the best buy on the Tezos network right now.
Oh yeah,
you can buy a Zancan for less than $20.
Right.
Who cares? If
it is interesting. I've been thinking a little bit more about these editions because, like, at this point, all the big artists are getting into it, and then if you kind of compare the prices of like X copies stuff versus Zancan stuff, it's just there's some interesting math to be done, but it's also weird to just be doing math to value art when there's certainly should be something besides math. Like a lot of times I'll see people that will just do it directly and go, well, the 1 of 1 costs this is an edition of 4,000. And it's like, they've completely removed the element of, well, is this a better piece of art or a worse piece of art or an equal piece of art? Now, if they're equal pieces of art, and you have 100 of this one and 1 of this one, okay, let's do some simple, multiply by 100 or divide by 100 math. That makes sense to me, but you're making a big assumption that all pieces of art by the same artist ought to be equally valid and valuable.
I'm now just staring at this Max Payne by X Coffee.
Yeah, it seems like it's going very slowly, but I don't know. That's what
Steam's
it
like
looks like.
$1,200. You can buy an X copy. But like that's the thing, $1,200 for an X copy or $20 for a Zancan.
Right, and what's the difference there is the Zancan there's 2,000 of. That X copy, I think there's like 9,000 of or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. 7,500.
Yeah, but then also if you look at the one of ones,
yeah,
he's sold for millions. Zancan has never done that.
Yeah,
true. But yeah, I mean, I can't afford any of his one-on-ones, but I do have a nice handful of edition pieces, with the two that I just showed being my faves.
Yeah.
I think the orange one is my absolute fave that I have.
I think I'm after we start recording, I'm gonna get some tears. I'm gonna just buy a ton of editions.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. It's just a one of one. No, it's not.
It's a one of whatever.
One of X, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Zancan competition collab with Deca Gallery and ZenAcademy that's going on right now, which I think is pretty cool. If let me stop sharing my screen. Anyone can create a Deca gallery using any art. You don't have to own the art, and then the parameters are basically to create something using mostly Zancan's work.
You're saying for this contest, it was a little bit unclear if you're just talking about Deca, what you can do on Deca, but you're talking about how you would use it for this contest.
Correct. I think even on Deca, you can create a gallery using anyone's art if you want.
Right. But then you started kind of just slipping into anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, for this contest, yeah.
Right.
Create a gallery on Deca.
Because we've not talked about Deca enough for people to totally know what it is. So I didn't want people.
Yeah. Deca is a platform where you can create like a 2D gallery, basically. It's like gallery.so, which I think we've spoken about. We shared our galleries there once. It is similar in nature, except it supports Tezos, which is a big plus, I think.
It also seems a bit more customizable in terms of the composition and stuff.
They have this freestyle mode, I think, where you can just do a bunch of stuff, and you can create some really cool galleries. They have this periodic table of ringers, which is really fantastic. And I think, let me open it up, just shows the kind of like creativity that people come up with for galleries. There we go.
That is very cool.
Yeah. So for those who are just listening in, it's just like, it's literally the structure is like a periodic table. And then
like the periodic table of elements.
Right. Yeah.
Be clear.
And then the items or the elements are just different ringers, and they're just organized by color and just in a really cool way.
Yeah, but background color being the main differentiator to section off areas of it. That is cool.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a cool contest, and first prize is a unique one of one Zancan,
which that is awesome.
That's worth a lot.
That's a hell of a prize.
Second prize is a kindergarten monument, which is one that
that's nothing to sneak at either.
It's not. Yeah, it's one that he minted, so it's just like it's a one from his collection that he's just giving up. And then third prize is a signed print that he's going to create of. I don't know which one it's going to be of yet, actually. And then as like basically nothing add-on, we're throwing in ZenAcademy tokens as well, which pale in comparison to a one of one Zancan.
Yeah, they do, but it's still nice.
They really do. Yeah.
That's cool. You were asking me earlier if I was going to do it, and just because I don't want there to be an appearance of impropriety, I'm not gonna. But if you were not involved, and there was no issue with that, I would definitely be taking part in this. Because A, it sounds pretty fun, and B, winning those Zancans is amazing.
Yeah,
I would love to have a Zancan 101. I don't think I'll ever be able to financially justify it, but to be able to do it like for free this way is amazing.
So me and Zancan will be the judges of the contest. The community will vote and curate on like the short list of 10, and then I think we will vote on the top 3. You could create an anonymous account and then register, and then like we won't know that it's you.
But then I win, and then people go, "What was it really like?" It's not about It's not about it
People trust
being.
us.
Yeah, until that happens, and then they go. Again, it's not about it being fair enough, because I can do it in a way that it's fair, and you don't know, but
Yeah,
other
exactly.
people can never fully.
They should just trust us. Like
They should absolutely.
we're very trustworthy.
I'm totally with you, but
Yeah,
because they don't, I'm.
You should do it.
Oh, look at this! I won. That's so cool. I got first, second, and third.
All right. What else do we have on the generative art? The Daisies drop. That's like my favorite art blocks drop in a long time.
So simple too, right? It's like there's nothing fancy about it.
Yeah. It's by this real OG Thai generative artist as well, who has released a couple of other collections that are also great. Let me share my screen here.
I'm curious what they were, because I didn't actually look into that.
That's not. Let's see. Stop screen. Share screen. Window. There. Like, I love all of them.
Yeah, they're nice.
I'm really bummed that I missed the mint. It was, I think, a 0.1 ETH mint. Both Rachel and I were like, hey, those are cool. We should keep an eye on it, mint it. And we both missed it. And then, yeah, I just went crazy buying them on secondary. I sold, basically, goblins were going crazy, and I had a bunch of goblins. And I was like, all right, I could sell 2 goblins and buy like 30 of these at like 0.3 before. So I was like, I'm just going to do it.
And they seem like they'd be good for making like, your own little curated pairings or triptychs or whatever you want to call them.
I might sell a goblin and just buy another 10 of these after this call as well.
Right.
Like,
or buy them without selling the goblin. You got options.
I do have options. Yeah. I have so much generative art though that it's just hard for me to justify continuing to buy more.
Right.
But like, and the collection size is only 200.
That is pretty small.
Yeah. I own 15% of the supply.
You have 30 of them? That's
yeah. Fine. I mean, I want them all, Jamie. I want them all.
You could probably get pretty close.
Well, we get to the point
last
here.
Few sellers would really get to squeeze you good.
I think Snowfro bought one, so like that's going to be a hard get. Maybe he'd give it up for the story. We have one collector who owns the entire collection.
Yeah.
But
it's basically just there. He has I don't know if it's even a he. The artist has created basically with code something that draws just the head of a daisy with the petals and whatever the thing in the middle of the flower is called. There's no stem. There's no leaves.
Is that a bud?
I don't think so. The bud is the whole thing before it blooms. I think it's like the stamen and the pistil and all sorts of other stuff. But this is one where it's much bigger, and it's like there's a bunch of them. Anyway, and then they've just got a variety of colors and compositions that they've put these daisies into, and it looks great.
It's so pleasant. The palette is so good.
I have none, but like look at that one. 156. Those colors are great to me.
Yeah. Kind of, this would go well with like an autumn fragments of an infinite field.
Some of the summers are pretty similar colors to that too as well.
Yeah.
Should we talk about something else rather than just have you
wistfully stare?
Yeah.
So there
deep
was
sighing as you tell yourself not to buy more.
Yeah. There was a curator drop recently. Did you follow that? Get in on that?
I followed it a little bit. It's called Colorspace, I believe, by something Tobin. Ben Tobin, maybe? That's not right.
I don't actually know. I didn't follow it that well. Let me just look it up.
It's basically
really funky.
Yeah, it is funky. It's kind of taking huge inspiration from basically old GUIs, graphical user interfaces of computers. Got like sort of a Windows 3.1 look to it, but it's almost like a mix between a screensaver and the regular GUI of like an old computer
You
It's
saying GUI?
interactive a little. Yeah, GUI, graphical user interface.
I've never heard someone say it's GUI.
What do you say? GUI, I guess.
I say GUI. Yeah, it's like saying
I think
Bored Ape
GUI is
Yacht
a real
Club is
thing.
base.
No, it's not like that at all. That's wrong. GUI is right. But anyway, it is a strange collection.
Yeah.
Definitely not one of my favorites, but I'll be collecting it because I like art blocks in general enough that if there's art blocks curated pieces or collections that are that cheap, I'll get one of them just to be closer to a completionist.
Yeah. Let me just open another one. They're just
Tabor.
Tabor.
So there's the Tabor. I got something right.
Tabor, Robak. Yeah, I haven't really played around with them yet. I think there's a lot of like interactivity.
There definitely is interactivity.
Yeah.
My work might be really interesting. I didn't know that. Might be some really interesting like Easter eggs too if you click the right things and all that stuff. But I don't necessarily have the time or desire to investigate that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, they are very cheap.
Floor. Yeah, relatively speaking.
0.19.
Yeah, that's about as low as curated is these days.
Yep.
But it seemed like it sold out. It wasn't a stall like Flux, which took a while.
Yeah, it sold out, I think, around 0.3. I think it was one of the, if not the first curated drop that had the Dutch auction that was continual, so it didn't step down by like every 5 minutes. It just continuously dropped. Yeah. Which I think was a big success. Yeah.
And we've got an announcement of the next one.
Yep.
I think the staging area they said was ready, but I don't think it actually is ready.
Yep. But we have one sample here. Eamon Tobin.
Zero, the artist mint.
So I think you conflated the two names.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely what happened.
So this one doesn't look like much, and it's I think it's meant to be some sort of like white noise machine element.
But there's also a sound element to it that has something to do with it if you read the description.
Yeah.
But if you look at the thumbnail to that one, there's something much different going on. So I don't know if this is not being rendered correctly, or if you have to wait, or what's going on, or if you have to click. Like, try clicking on it.
I'm clicking. It started playing sounds. All right, here we go. It's rendering.
Oh yeah, I see. And now you can see something kind of coming out of it.
Yeah. This is cool.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of like Spectron, where it's sort of this very new technology that's kind of referencing old technology or recreating the aesthetic of the old technology using the new stuff, which is sort of an interesting dichotomy.
And that's
when is this one coming out?
Let me check.
We're recording this on June 6th, which is a Monday.
Well, it's June 7th here, but no. June 8th.
Okay, so
11 p.m.
June 8th is I was going to say in 1 or 2 days, but I don't know. Like June 8th is always this. June 8th is just June 8th, right?
Mm-hmm. It's in
it'll be June 8th for both of us when it drops.
Right. June 8th, 7 p.m. Central European time. So 1 p.m. Eastern time. June 8th. Bam. You gonna try mint?
I don't know. I have no idea. Well, that's
no. I
won't actually. I'm going to be in Boston for the Celtics game. And by the way, can we talk about the officiating in Game 2 of the NBA Finals?
All right, Jamie. It's the art blocks and fxhash segment. Let's talk about the officiating of the Boston Celtics and who are they playing?
Despicable. They're playing the Warriors. It was so bad. I actually don't want to get into it because.
But you brought it up. Let's get into it.
Honestly, if you look at the world has so much terrible stuff happening. And when I think of all the injustices in the world right now, the top of the list for me is the officiating in Game 2 of the Finals. I mean, it was bad. It doesn't. We don't need to get.
What's the score in the whole?
The series is 1-1 right now. The Celtics won Game 1, and the referees won Game 2. The Celtics also, I can't believe I'm getting into this, but the Celtics also turned the ball over much too much in game 2, which it did not at all
Uh-huh.
help. This has been the NBA recap.
Uh,
But should we talk about the things that we were already talking about, or are we done with those?
I think I'm done with it. We could maybe just generally talk about generative art and fxhash. Just seems to be really exploding lately.
It does.
Been continuing. I was looking at old episodes of Two Bored Apes earlier because someone on Twitter was asking for favorites, and I like scrolled back, and December last year, one of the in the heading for the episode, we have fxhash. So we were pretty early. And I was like patting myself on the back, even though didn't collect nearly as much as quote unquote we should have. But yeah, it's sort of been slowly bubbling, and then I would say for the last 2 months, just been going crazy. Yeah, just more and more collectors, and I don't know. I think people are loving the whole vibe of it, the cheapness, the ease, the low barrier to entry, I guess.
You struggled with that.
I was trying to like easeability, easiness.
Ease. I think you just end with ease.
Ease. The thing I struggle the most with is like staying on top of the new projects. Like there's so many.
It's overwhelming.
Like,
in a way that we already know the NFT space in general to be, but even this microcosm of it is in and of itself overwhelming. Because again, there's no curation on fxhash, so anybody that has just a little bit of programming skills can make an fxhash project, basically. So there's tons and tons of new ones every single day, and the ability to sort of curate through that yourself kind of takes some effort. But again, it's so cheap that you can, or in general, the projects are so cheap that you can really do it without having to have a large sort of intellectual burden about spending so much money or whatever that you might have to do if you were trying to splash around, for instance, on art blocks, where the cheapest piece is, in the very upper. Let me phrase this better. The cheapest piece you can get of an art blocks collection of the cheapest factory projects would be in the upper echelons or medium to upper echelons of what it costs for an fxhash piece. Again, you can go back to the unicorns thing you were talking about earlier, right? Those cost less than $1 at mint price, and now they've 10x'd, and they're less than $20. Whereas again, the cheapest piece you're ever going to get on art blocks is probably $40 or something like that. If you put in a stinker bid that gets accepted, you might get something for 0.02 or 0.03 F.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, to me, it seems like honestly the best opportunities for like growing a tiny bankroll in the entire Web3 space right now is probably fxhash. Like just staying on top of these units that cost almost nothing.
It seems like the potential is definitely there, but because I haven't really tried to do it or know the degree to which, is there 1,000 new ones a day and 2 of them are popping off, or like what the actual math there is? For sure, there's crazy potential to take a small amount of money and build it up sort of quickly and stuff there. But I don't know what kind of hit rates you're talking about or how predictable it would be ahead of time, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we're definitely seeing a lot of stuff that mints for super cheap with no gas war that becomes popular pretty quickly.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for the section.
I do too.
That was art blocks and
fxhash
and generative
art in general.
Our project.
I'll just start because mine is mostly the same as it has been. I'm working on a generative art collection. I don't know where it will be sold, but I talked previously about wondering if I wanted to do a long form thing or just create and then mint. I'm pretty darn sure it's going to be long form now, and I'm kind of enjoying the process of taking this algorithm that I've started and the various outputs that it can create and trying to figure out which types of outputs I like and which ones I don't, and then figure out how to set up the randomization to get a good variety and an overall cohesiveness and stuff. And so I've been doing a good amount of working on that structure lately. But also I've been a little bit busy with gardening and basketball to not be able to do as much as I want to. But Celtics should win in a couple more games, and then I'm going to have a lot of free time.
Gardening. What NFT project is that?
Are you being funny?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, yeah. I guess we'll get into that though. Yeah, it's gardening season where I am, so my vegetable garden is in full swing, and that takes up a good amount of time. The end, or not the end. I'll talk about it more. Something is eating my eggplant leaves, and it's really pissing me off. I'm trying to just outgrow them, but it's some sort of aphid or beetle is really wrecking havoc on them. But everything else is doing quite well.
You gotta get some ladybugs for those aphids.
But I'm not sure that it's aphids.
Right. Yeah.
But I have so much kale, and the tomatoes are looking good. The peppers are looking great. I usually don't have that much success with peppers. I can't believe I'm talking about this. let's talk about ZenAcademy. What's going on in ZenAcademy?
No, I had a question on your generative.
Okay, go ahead.
You said you sort of been working on your algorithm and the outputs. So have you already sort of like got a base algorithm and an idea in mind that you're just tweaking now, or are you playing around with big ideas still?
I have a class that is very versatile, and then I have basically a for loop that calls that class, and then I have a few different functions for showing that the object from that class. I don't know how much this means to people that don't program, but there's just a ton of versatility in there, and so I'm trying to figure out what combinations of the various variables that go into making the classes are aesthetically pleasing, and then figure out how I want to, structure that mathematically in terms of having a lot of this, a little of this, and allowing enough randomness to still be in it, while also going, I like them when they look kind of like this, but not so much like this, and threading the needle between the freedom of the algorithm to make outputs that I'm not expecting, and making sure I get some outputs that look like the outputs that I've had so far that I really like, and trying to minimize the ones that I don't like. I'm working on that right now the most.
Nice, super exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to see it progress, see the outputs. And
the other thing I had been coming to the conclusion of lately is that for a little while I was thinking about getting it out relatively quickly, and then just being okay with that. And it'll be on fxhash, it'll be cheap, and I can make more in the future. But again, I just sold this ape, so I have no need to have any money coming in anytime super soon. So I'm happy to now just really try and make it as good as I can, and take plenty of time on it, and then release it and just be super happy with it, and hope that also art collectors and market speculators like it as well.
Nice. I'm excited. All right, ZenAcademy and 333. It's been busy period as kind of like has been for a while now. I just got back from Dubai a couple of days ago. I was there. I filmed 2 new courses with Natthakit, one on community building and management, and one on mental health and staying sane in Web3.
You had mentioned previously that you were going to do these, I believe. I remember hearing about that.
And now they're done. And then
you ate a lot of steak while you were there.
I ate so much steak. It was a good trip. It was hot. It was like 40 degrees, 41.
It's the desert.
100 plus. It is the desert in beginning of summer.
The desert near the equator, summer. That's a recipe for hot weather, Roy.
That's a recipe for hotness. We're thinking of moving to Dubai.
Are you?
Something. Yeah. Just I spoke to so many people there, crypto people, and like the tax is Germany is good for tax, but Dubai is even better.
Yeah. What about? I mean, Portugal's theoretically had a very good crypto tax thing as well.
Yeah, Portugal is the other option. I guess we're kind of considering, but
well, I'll tell you what. We'll visit you a lot more in Portugal than Dubai.
Yeah.
But you probably shouldn't decide where to move based on how often I'll come visit you. I would think.
And realistically, it'll be like once every 7 months or something.
we don't need to get into the specifics of how often I would visit Portugal if you moved there, but I feel like that's a reasonable guess now that we're doing it.
All right, so that's that.
I did love Porto when I visited, though. That was a great city.
I'd love to go. Yeah, I've never been to Portugal. But anyway, we have a bunch of stuff coming up. Next week, going to Amsterdam. They'll be in.
I want to reiterate, the refereeing was so bad in Game 2.
Oh boy. Who are they playing again?
They're playing the Gold. I love that when I take us off topic, you go along with it. They're playing the Golden State Warriors.
All right, go Golden State Warriors.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
You deserve
I thought you were being playful with me, but instead you're hurting my feelings.
All right, ZenAcademy. We're going to Amsterdam next week, and then NFT NYC the week after. We have a bunch of meetups planned.
You're doing a thing in Amsterdam?
Yep. I'm speaking at the conference, and then we have a booth there as well. And
Roy and I have been to Amsterdam together. Is that true, Roy?
Almost 15 years ago.
I don't like to hear that.
Yeah.
I wish it was like 4 years ago.
We waterboarded our friend in Amsterdam.
Oh my God. That sounds bad.
Yeah.
And it kind of is. But was it Amsterdam or were we in whatever
Prague?
the other place was?
Might have been Prague.
Anyway, the point is, this was around the time. This is so fucking funny / stupid. This was around the time that waterboarding was just in the news a lot because my terrible government had been doing it to suspected terrorists in Abu Ghraib, I believe. This is so stupid. But basically, our friend Nick heard about this and was positively certain that it wasn't bad at all, and that as long as you knew that you weren't really drowning because you were just having this thing done to you called waterboarding, it would be totally fine. And I can't remember exactly where you fell on it, but I was irate at how stupid he was being about this. So basically, we came to an agreement that, okay, let's just try to waterboard you then and see how fine it is. And the long and short of it was that I'm not good at torturing people. I was just getting a rag wet that was on his face and a little bit in his mouth, and he was totally fine with it. And it wasn't a mind over matter thing where he was overcoming waterboarding. We were only adjacent to waterboarding, and got like the bed in the hotel wet as we poured water on our friend's face, who we were trying to torture.
Yeah, I think I was with him. I was like, how bad could it be if you just...
That's so stupid.
I wish I could waterboard you open heart surgery by watching a YouTube video.
Yeah, and everybody tells me how stupid I am for thinking that as well.
All right.
It is too bad that I wasn't better at waterboarding. That's one of the fun classic stories in our lives that has never come out on this podcast. Out there.
Yeah, we have plenty more. I think they'll come out eventually.
Not of torture, but we do have other stories. That's the only time I've intentionally tried to torture somebody.
Where was I? We have events at Amsterdam. We have events at NYC. We have a Gitbook is live. There's a bunch of information there. Websites
what words did you say?
Gitbook, like a white paper website.
Yeah.
Repository of information. Website goes live next week. I have an ebook coming out. Yeah, bunch of stuff happening.
You sound bored with how much stuff you have going on. Almost, you're going through them all. I'm gonna do this.
I'm not bored, but it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You're just like trying to remember everything without.
Yeah. No, it's good times, exciting times.
We've been working. Book coming out. You just said
ebook. Yeah. It's not. It's kind of like a book, but it's not like I sat down and been working on a book. It's like a repurposing of content. So like, specifically my Twitter threads, which many of them like pretty good content, but then they're lost and like new people never see them and existing people don't see them. So we're just recapturing them and editing them a bit, putting them in book format. Yeah. Coming out soon.
Free or not free?
Free.
Smart.
Yep. Available on the website. And then
cool.
What else is there? I was going to say something. The PFP project. That's something that we're like inching towards, and I'm getting a little bit more excited about it now.
Now, inching towards meaning like we're close to the starting line and we've only gone inches, or like the finish line's right there and we're like it's only inches away? It could mean either, right?
The starting line one. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Or could I just be in the pace? You're somewhere in
Right.
the middle, and we're only going
Yeah.
inches at a time.
Yeah,
But it's unclear what the scale is. Maybe if it's only a 7 inches to do it, going inches, it's like, wow, we're going quick.
We are making slow but steady progress, and
Okay.
we're still in the early stages
Okay.
of fleshing out the
Now
exact
we're totally on the same
look and
page.
feel of what it will be like.
Okay,
I'm coming
cool.
around to the idea of pixelated artwork for the PFEs. I think
For the on-chaininess, or for no
partially
other
on-chaininess. I think it's just a lot easier to make them more appealing to most people. It's very difficult to make like a high fidelity, is that the right word? Like it's just a complicated piece of art.
high resolution, I
high
guess
resolution
you could say.
artwork that sort of appeals to a lot of people. It's very
It automatically sort of becomes more specific.
yeah.
Which can be good and bad.
Yeah. I think pixelated is like kind of timeless and but yeah, I mean, for a bunch of reasons, I think the on-chainness is really growing on me as just like how cool that would be, especially if you think like 5-10 years in the future. It's probably just going to be eventually prohibitively expensive to upload NFTs on chain on Ethereum mainnet.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of that. Yeah. And that's just something fun and exciting that we're working on at ZenAcademy. I think that's about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Should we play our favorite game?
Oh yeah. What am I thinking?
That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game.
I got to pick out a word. You got to pick out a word.
Mm-hmm.
Looking around here, but then I'm going to try to pick a word that has nothing to do with it, so you don't have any. Okay. I got one.
Okay. I got one too.
3, 2, 1. Airplane.
Cornucopia.
Airplane and cornucopia. Okay. I have one immediately.
Huh. I have one, but it's such a random stretch that my brain just did that it's a terrible one. Okay, I got one.
3, 2, 1. Thanksgiving.
Peanuts.
Peanuts and Thanksgiving.
How did you get Thanksgiving from airplane and cornucopia?
Which one are you confused about? Because they both seem obvious to me.
I guess the airplane one. The
people go home for Thanksgiving frequently in an airplane. It's the biggest travel day in the entire U.S. I believe is the day after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
As people go back to anyway.
Right, we have
peanuts and Thanksgiving. Okay, I got one. Boy, I wish you knew more about Thanksgiving. 3, 2, 1. Pecan
stuffing.
pie. Pecan pie and stuffing. And we can't say Thanksgiving because that's already been used. Pecan pie and stuffing. This seems like it could be a painful one. And by the way, we should be going quicker. There's a little bit too long of pauses between.
Okay,
it breaks the rules of the game. 3, 2, 1. Green bean casserole. Green bean casserole and turkey. Green bean casserole.
Or like
turkey. Yeah, you don't do Thanksgiving, so this is going to be painful for me.
I've seen enough episodes of Friends and stuff.
Sure.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Mashed potatoes. Cranberry and mashed potatoes.
Okay, I got one.
Cranberry and mashed potatoes. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Trifle.
Yams.
Trifle and yams. I tried to go to the Friends thing for you. Trifle and yams. Okay, I got one.
All right.
This is a good one too, and you don't have the confidence, which bothers me, but that's okay. 3, 2, 1. Pumpkin pie.
Gravy. All
Roy
right.
shakes his head no and says gravy. So disappointing. Pumpkin pie, this is like when we first played the game, where we get so close and then just circle around it. Okay, we got pumpkin pie and gravy. Disgusting combination, by the way. Pumpkin pie and gravy. I guess I'll just say one of the other. But you don't even know what the. Okay. Anyway, are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Stuff
Meat
it.
pie.
Meat pie.
I said stuffing already.
Did you? Okay. Well.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
do you want to go back one then, or do we
Okay,
get
let's go
disqualified?
back.
Did we lose because we broke the rules? I think we lost. This is our first ever loss.
Well, you lost because you broke the rules.
We did. No, it's a team game, Roy. It's a team game. We're trying to get the thing. We
But
lost.
then why are
That's
people
it.
always-
Game over? Because I'm better at this. Team games. LeBron James is better than his teammates. Doesn't mean it's not a team game. I should I do a Dota one for you because you know them better? Arteezy
Sure.
was better than somebody else on the team. Big Daddy No Tail is better than such and such. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This has been episode 40 something.
45.
Or episode 1 of One Bored Ape, as the podcast is now jokingly referred
One
to.
bored ape talking.
We want to tell people to do good things, be a good person, that kind of thing, right?
Do good things, be a good person. Share this podcast with a friend that might like it.
Get us more listeners. Come on, guys, you're slacking. It's your job to promote this podcast, not ours, and you are not doing a good enough job. Get us more listeners. Thank you.
Just
Thank you.
lambast our listeners.
Yeah. Not thank you for listening. Shame for not
I
spreading it
appreciate
enough.
you.
I do
I
too.
appreciate
I'm just running out of things to say at the end here.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.